What if your words could work harder for your business and make a lasting impact? This week on Profit with a Plan, we're diving into the art of strategy of copywriting with my guest, Emily Aborn, who is a content marketing expert, copywriter extraordinaire, and podcast host. Having worked with thousands of businesses across 111 industries, Emily knows exactly how to transform your words into tools that connect, resonate, and build relationships. So she'll reveal how to craft marketing that truly speaks to your audience, avoid common pitfalls, and ensure that your brand looks, feels, and sounds cohesive everywhere. So whether you're looking to strengthening your message, connect authentically, I can't even speak today, or simply make your marketing more meaningful, this is the conversation you've been waiting for. So tune in to today's Profit with a Plan with guest Emily Aborn. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you ready to boost your profit and grow your business? Well, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast, where we share strategies to help you scale your company, increase profitability, and set up for successful exit. I'm your host, Marcia Riner, a business growth strategist and the profit booster behind Infinite Profit. I've helped countless entrepreneurs to build highly profitable and sale ready businesses. That's more profits now and a bigger payout later. And today's episode is sponsored by Infinite Profit, where we don't just talk profit, we deliver it. And if you're ready to take your business to the next level, go visit infiniteprofitconsulting.com and start boosting your bottom line today. But before we dive in, I have something special for you. If you're feeling like you've been doing everything, but you're not seeing the results you want, it might be time for a fresh perspective. Well, that's why I'm offering a free growth and marketing audit. In just one powerful session, we'll uncover opportunities to drive real growth for your business. Ready to make that impact? Go visit profitbooster.biz and let's get started. Okay, so let's jump into today's episode with our guest today is Emily Aborn. So from hypnosis to carabiners, our guest Emily is known is a copywriter, content marketing consultant, and podcast host. As an entrepreneur for over a decade, she's collaborated with thousands of individuals and over 113 industries as a copywriter. With every one, she unlocks their distinct personality, creativity, and message as she guides them to build a cohesive relationship-based business. For fun, she enjoys word games. Are you surprised? No. Reading, listening to podcasts, and hiking with her husband Jason and their dog Clyde. Emily, welcome to today's podcast.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Marcia.
It's some days my mouth works when I'm doing the intros, and other days I'm like, ugh, the tongue just stops working. But I think the content, it doesn't matter how you say it. It's when you say it and it connects with the audience. So that's why I'm super excited to have you on the show today. But before we get started, how in the world did you get into copywriting?
Well, that is the age-old question. Actually, it was writing for an outdoor sports company where I wrote a lot of things about carabiners and socks
What are carabiners?
yeah, I'm going to tell you what carabiners are and socks and sleeping bags and like all kinds of outdoor sports gear.
Ah,
So carabiners are like those things that you like if you were rock climbing or going down a mountainside, you would have one attached to like your
those
harness,
are
I
the D
think.
clips, right?
Yes, yes. And
Ah,
also the
okay.
rope so that you don't die. So they're actually kind of fascinating because you can literally trust like this little tiny hook with your entire life. So
That's right.
basically that boiled down to like, trust me, it was not glamorous at that time. I just was looking through product spec spreadsheets, and then I had to kind of pull out like the features of the products, but also like really show people like how it could benefit them. So I got to do a little bit of that. That was in college. However, despite really loving that and like always knowing that I wanted to write and always having been a writer my entire life, it took me a really, really long time to figure out that writing was actually how I could run a business, not just like enjoy in my personal life. So from college, I actually ended up working. I got like a degree in health education. So I ended up working for like lots of health chiropractic offices and health clinics and things like that. And I would end up like I would do a lot of their marketing, honestly. And I would do like their newsletters and their websites. And I would also do a lot of workshops. So I'd get a chance to like teach people and like translate information, which I loved. But it was not until I started my own retail shop in like a very weird, it's mattresses. We sold mattresses. It's a little
Oh
odd.
my gosh, your story's amazing. So you go from copywriting and writing to selling mattresses.
Yes. So I was trying to make it fit with that health education degree that I got. So I'm like, okay, sleep is along these lines. Like it's going to be this super healthy sleep store. So my husband and I actually opened that together. And when it came time to like, basically what happened was we decided we really didn't want to stay in this market. It had been shifting a lot and there were like lots of like bed in a boxes, like people were ordering things
Right.
online, coming into stores less. Now looking back because of COVID, I'm so grateful we decided to do what we did. But as I was closing the store, I had to look at like everything I really loved doing in my business and everything I really hated doing in my business. And what
Mm,
I didn't like was being in the actual store. And I didn't really like the selling piece of things. And I didn't like some of those more front facing pieces. But what I did love was like all the marketing and like creating the website and the blogs and like all of that kind of stuff, like the content, coming up with the content. So I just started like doing that for other people. Like people would ask me to do like, oh, we love your newsletter. Will you do ours? So I just kind of started doing that as I was closing my store. And
mm.
by the time I ended up closing, I think I had my husband's like, okay, well, if this doesn't work, like we'll just get you back out on the job market and you can start looking for jobs, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I totally will do that if this fails. So by the time I closed that store, I had, I think, 13 retainer clients at that time. So it was a big difference and a big leap, but it was so much more like aligned for what I've been wanting to do my entire life. And it was like, why did it take me so long?
Because we do what we think we're supposed to do rather than what our heart and our soul tells us to do. Because when we align ourselves, not to make this a woo woo conversation, but I think that when we align ourselves with what we really enjoy doing, it comes out so much better and more
Yeah.
enjoyable rather than going Sunday night going, oh my God, I got to go to work tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah, it's so true. And I will say it takes, even sometimes when you land on what you love to do, like just an encouragement out there. If someone's like, well, I am doing what I want, but it's not quite feeling good, you know? Sometimes I think it takes some fine tuning to like really either niche down on your products or niche down on your services or niche down on the people that you're working with. And once you
Mm,
start learning those patterns, I like to refer to them as patterns versus
sure.
niches, but once you start learning those patterns about yourself and about other people, I promise you, it really genuinely does get better. And you like look forward to each and every single conversation, you know?
I love it. I love it. And then it just it flows, right?
Yes.
So it becomes this natural solution that you're offering to the world, whether you're B2B or B2C, or you're selling mattresses or you're writing copy, it's natural. And so it really starts to flow. Yeah, I think that that's, that that's a huge, it's a huge aha that I had to go through as my business has evolved from financial planning and financial advising to business planning to more growth consulting to now I'm even doing a lot more growth execution as an agency. But yeah, it's just it's neat how we evolve into what really we should be doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Fun. Okay, so let's get into this a little bit more. How does one articulate what they're doing in a way that really truly becomes authentic and natural and, that engagement kind of conversation that we have in our marketing because you're doing really well at it.
Ah, thank you so much. So, I think one of the first places we all have to start is to get really honest with ourselves. And sometimes that comes with asking ourselves questions. Like you have to get to know yourself, and know what you really stand for, what you really want to be
Mm.
doing, what you really want to be offering. I'm kind of a big fan of like staying in your lane. Okay, when it comes to giving a very clear message, let me say that. When it comes to giving a very clear message, it's going to be easier for you if you have sort of a lane, okay, and you stay in it and you're not trying to do all the things or be all the things to all the people. So, that again, I don't love the word niche because people like have weird feelings around it, but focusing on
I
like
think
what
they're
you,
fear-based too, because they're
yeah.
afraid they're gonna miss out on an opportunity if they niche down, right? Or
Yeah,
stay in that lane per se, rather than saying that doesn't mean you can't go on either side of it, but when you're attracting the customer, there's a clear message and a pain point or a problem or a benefit that they're looking for. And if you can really be clear about that, right? And that's kind of
agreed.
staying in the lane.
Yeah. So really like getting clear for yourself on who am I? Who do I like to work with? I asked a client just this morning in our kickoff call, like, okay, I get that you attract clients. She's like, I'll work with anybody. And I'm like, that's
If
great.
you've got
And
teeth, you're my client. I'm a dentist.
exactly. I said, if you had somebody, who's your favorite person to work with? And I asked her to like name the person, right? And then I asked her to start telling me characteristics of that person. And like, do you see that you like other clients that kind of work along like that? So, really asking yourself, like, what I do every year is I keep track of my projects and who I'm working with. And I go back and make myself little notes about the client, like how they
Mm,
found me, also what my experience was with them. Like, did we have a good connection? Did it go smoothly the whole time through? Like, I'll just jot down little notes, but it gives me like real tangible feedback on who I like to work with and then where also those people are coming from.
mm,
Because you may find that people you get from one organization or one marketing effort that you're doing are never the kind of people that you want to be working with. And then it gives you that information like, okay, maybe I'm not going to be focusing my time and efforts there. But lastly, I want to go back to one word that you just said, which I think is like, this is like fundamental benefits. What are the benefits of working with you? So, it's very common in the marketing world to see a list of pain points and a list of struggles and a list of challenges. Like we're all very familiar with that marketing technique. It is a
yeah,
little overplayed.
the pain side, I mean, well, because they say people will move faster when there's a pain they're trying to overcome rather than a benefit or a desire that they want to have, right? So are you struggling or are you dreaming of? And I always battle with that because I hate having to only solve for pains. So
Mhm.
how do we balance that?
Well, I would say you should balance it is the important part because a lot of what we've been taught is that we should feed the pain. And my problem with it is that it creates a fat like it's great. Oh, it creates a faster buyer, but is faster always the buyer that I want? You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
like as a copywriter, I think about my own business cuz some businesses want fast, right? As a copywriter, I think about my own business. Typically, I can't even book somebody until like 3 weeks from now, for one. Secondly, when somebody has a copywriting emergency, that is not usually a good fit for me. Like, if you think copywriting is going to solve all of your business problems, it doesn't tend to be the best fit. And it also, for me, sometimes translates into somebody who's not as like invested in the project or they're just buying to like get a quick, like, get me out of pain now. And sometimes like a lady the other day, I know she purchased from that place
mm.
and she doesn't even know what she bought. Like she doesn't actually even know what she just invested her money in, which is sad because it's a lot of value. And like I want her to know that, but I don't even know if she's going to realize that. So
Yeah.
that's how I think about it. And I'm not swaying people from using pain points, but I'm challenging us to also balance those with benefits. Like I
Yeah.
want somebody to work with me out of genuine excitement, possibility of what we could create, like looking at something I've written on my website and being like, oh my gosh, yes, I just connect with that and I feel good in that. Like, I don't want to keep people mired in what they're feeling, you know?
And it's a positive energy rather than that negative energy. And I think what you're really bringing out here with me is the aha and the awareness that it's not just the copy and the customer we're going after. And oh my gosh, if they're in the top of the pyramid and ready to buy right now because, their house is burning down, that's not always the right kind of energy and environment I want in my life.
Right.
So if I want to have somebody that wants to take the time and build out the foundation and figure out who that client is and start to nurture that relationship in a positive one, think I guess what are the two industries? You can either go in and be a plumber causing, toilet leaks when, or, leak in the plumbing, or you can have that dream vacation planner who's got happy clients that are dreaming and excited to work with you rather than stressed to work with you, I guess, kind of.
Exactly. But I would venture to say, even a plumber, like if you have a great plumber at your disposal, one, you're going to get less toilet leaks. And
True.
two, when you call them, you know that, even if you are having a panicky moment, like you've built up that relationship together, you know? So I don't know. That's my kind of like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with knowing people's pain. And I actually would say we should know people's pain. We should be empathetic and understanding towards what our client is facing. It's just when we kind of use that to like capitalize that I don't
Mm.
entirely love.
Got it, got it, got it. Well, this is interesting. It's definitely a different angle at talking about how you start to attract your client, right? And the language and the pieces that you use. So now that we've decided, okay, we're gonna balance our life focused on, yes, the pain points, we have to know what is their, buying triggers, but then we can also balance it with, promise and hope and nicer language that's less stressful, right?
Yeah. And I think being really clear on what you offer is a great way to like do that, because when you are clear on what you offer, you know exactly what the benefit is and you know exactly what problems that's going to solve. So you do have to start with yourself and then think about your client. And I always say good content, good copy, it's like a bridge. Like it's like I understand myself, I understand you, and I'm going to show you how those two come together and we can make
Mm.
something wonderful.
Like it, like it. Okay. So when we're doing that, how do we come up with this kind of language, right? I mean, again, I think if I know me, I know how I'm going to say things, right? But then I have to also move into kind of that persuasive conversation with the potential customer I'm looking for, right?
Yeah, so I would listen. I mean, I would listen to yourself. Like when you, at the beginning of your episode, for example, you did give us a call to action. So, like, we kind of actually have an idea already of how you are going to call people to do something, to take an action step. So, for me, it's going to be a lot different than it is. My calls to action are different than yours for sure. And so I think that's like a lot of my calls to action. I'll just use our two personalities
Sure.
differently. You're pretty direct. You're like, okay, if you want this, go do this, right? And
Right.
you lay out exactly how to do it. I will often incite someone's curiosity. So I'll say, like, if you want to learn more about, or if you're at all interested, or if you want to just poke around on, so I will often use that. And then I'll kind of like lead them to the next step. And sometimes I'll be silly about it. Like sometimes I'll misspell a button and I'll have like their attention will be drawn to the button because it's like misspelled or it's like
Oh, I
two
love
different.
that idea.
Yeah. So like there's you're all we're all going to persuade according to how our unique voice is. And like
Exactly.
that's why I think like writing, how you write is fantastic. But um not you, I'm just saying us, how we all write is like that's a great way to find your voice. But the best way to find your voice is to listen to yourself. again and again and again. Like if it has to be the voice memo app on your phone or whatever, you know what I mean? Like do it that way, or listen to yourself in client phone calls, record your calls and listen to yourself so that you can really start to understand like some of the nuances in the language you use, the tone you use. Like you and I have a different cadence. We speak at
Mhm.
different speeds. So you have like more of like a deliberate pausing, and I'm very fast, and then I might slow down and then talk very fast again. So you can see when you start to learn those things, it can actually translate into how you write, and then your writing becomes conversational. It just becomes like you're having this conversation with the person on the other side. And that person, when they meet you in real life, they're like, oh, it's the same person. They
Right?
sound just like they do on their website, or they sound just like they do on their podcast. So that's kind of the power of, and I don't want to go too into the weeds because there's like kind of an art and science to it, right? But
No, I love it though, because I've never been able to write formally, but I write the way I talk. So then it kind of comes out like that. But, I'm glad to hear that that's desirable, right?
I think
Because
that's
then
desirable.
it links the two and it doesn't look like, like chat wrote it, or, it was too formal because I'm not formal. I am
Yeah.
direct, but I'm not formal. I love it.
And let's speak to chat for a minute, because oh, man, when ChatGPT first came alive, and like just I'll just say AI writing tools because I don't want to
Sure.
limit it to just that. But when it first came, I was worried. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to completely be out of a job. I will say, like, as we stand now, 2025, January, we're not really at the point of, and this is coming out in March, but we're not really at the point of chat being able to like write things for us and have it be us, you know? So, what I would say is you can definitely use it for, it's so good for outlines, it's good for
Yeah.
prompts. It's
Starting
really,
points.
yeah, it's really good to help give you clarity, or say, how should I lay out my homepage? Or would you change any of these bullet points to be more focused on the benefits or more on the pain points, right? So you can actually use it as kind of a sounding board for you. But at this point, I would not use it as like just copy and paste. And I also don't think it's legal to just copy and paste and stick it on there. But I think it can be really good for a lot of people who don't even have any idea where to start,
Ah,
because it does
it's
give you
yes.
that starting place.
Yes. I love the idea that you personalize it, right? And you make it yourself. So talking about personalizing, how do we make our conversation very personable to our audience?
Well, I like if I have a client who I'm working with who is very open to being relatable and making things personal to their client, I get very excited inside, because I will get to use a lot of specificity. And
Mm,
okay, I'm gonna say there is a, I'm not gonna remember who first said this right now, but there's a quote out there that is, the specific is universal. And basically, what they're saying is when we describe something very specifically, it actually then becomes an experience that a lot of us have had. Like, I'll give you the example that I always do that just pops into my mind. So if I just tell you, Marcia, imagine that you're eating an apple. You're like,
okay.
okay, like I don't really know what kind of apple you just imagined. I don't really get to control, or like, I don't relate with you on that experience, because we could be imagining two different apples completely. But if I say, imagine you're biting into just like a slightly too tart Granny Smith apple, your cheeks like almost start to pucker up. Like we
Mine
all,
did. My mouth
yes.
started to water. That's perfect.
So that's kind of what I mean when we get really specific. It actually becomes like this universal experience, and people feel like you're talking right to them, or they've had the same. Once I did a newsletter and I included like one of my weird thing, like I love cinnamon. It's like one of my favorite spices for some reason. So I just did like this whole thing about like things I will put cinnamon on that are very weird.
Oh,
And
fun.
like, I cannot tell you how many people wrote back to that and were like, oh my God, I put cinnamon on that too. Or I love cinnamon, or I used to love cinnamon sugar toast when I was a kid. So you see what I mean? Like, it does create this like shared experience. And it,
A
it seems,
link.
yes. And it seems kind of like niching. It seems like, oh, I don't want to exclude anyone, or I don't want to like put anyone off. But that's why you know a variety of your clients' specific experiences and your specific experiences. So I do think that being specific in our copy is like the number one way to be to personalize it, to make it relatable.
Okay, so now you got my wheels spinning here. So give me an example, not to throw you under the bus here, but give me I love the cinnamon example. Oh my gosh, and the apple. But when we're talking, so say my ideal client is a med spa. So, how do I be specific in content marketing when I'm still writing to more of a broader industry about growth? And I want to talk about med spas, but without really pointing out the med spas, I guess, right? Is that specific but not specific kind of up
That's a good
down?
one. Okay, so I don't know a lot about med spas, so you're gonna have to help me out. Give me like
Okay, or
something.
we can go back to your carabiners. You know a lot about that, right? So when you're talking to a hiking group, right? And but yet you're talking about the health industry.
Yeah, so I might describe let's use the health industry as an example. Like you might say something as simple as, we've all been taught that you're supposed to drink exactly half your body weight in ounces every day of water. That's very specific, right? But
Yes.
did you know there's actually blah 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 blah. Okay.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna try to think of one for this med spa. I'm like, I
No,
mean, I
that's
could
actually good though. See, I just needed some sort of an example that was specific because, that niche market, right? And I was just on a call this morning that they said, yeah, you should niche, but you shouldn't niche until you hit a certain, break point, right? So it made me think, okay, people fear the niche word because they think that they're going to shun people that aren't exactly in this, perfect little circle I've designed, right?
yeah,
And so that's why I was thinking the words that we could be specific, but yet not so specific that we say, you are a 5'7" woman who needs to get rid of her wrinkles, and yet now rather than and at a certain age, rather than say, I didn't say that age. So, but then yet I'm still talking to all women, right?
yeah. Yeah. My friend actually just had a treatment where it was like a laser thing. I don't know what she did. She went under some light and she comes out with like radiant, no freckles. I was like, "Oh, your makeup looks so good today." She's like, "Oh, I don't have any makeup on." So I might use, I guess, in your med spa example, something like that. Like, do you want to look like you have just had the best makeup when you aren't even wearing any? Like this laser treatment is for you, something like
Okay,
that.
perfect, perfect. So you're being specific about answering the features and benefits that they're going or excuse me, the benefit that they're going to get from it because that's what's going to move them into that positive. You hinted on the I'm bringing it all together here. You hinted on the pain point, right? And
Right.
then you talked about the future beauty that she's got because now she walks outside without any makeup on, but yet everybody thinks she's fully done up, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then you could take that same person and talk about their lines and their wrinkles and their crow's feet. And, you've tried every single thing under the sun because Lord knows we all have. And you could do that. And you can do both. And you can do them both and make the person come out feeling like they're going to get a really nice transformation on the other side. So I do love specificity in any of our marketing. And the other thing is you don't have to do it all at once. Like I think that's one other thing. Let's use a social media post, for example, because it's a good place to be really singular. But like if
Mhm.
I try to make a social media post that speaks to all of my different ideal client types, I usually end up with just like a really long post that does not make any sense to anyone. So
Right.
I try to remember like this one is for the DIYer, this one is for the interior designer, this one is for the podcast listeners, and I'm just trying to speak to one person at a time.
I like that because, oftentimes you go in and chase everybody, right? And then you end up chase attracting nobody.
Exactly.
So I like that conversation where you're talking to one person at a time. Doesn't mean you can't turn around and talk to the next person and talk to the person on the left and talk to the person behind them, but you're still talking to that one person. I like that. Very good.
Exactly. And it's a long game. We have time to have all those conversations, right? So focus on one conversation at a time.
Love it. This has been so helpful, and I appreciate you coming in with the, on the spot kind of fly with it, but it really showed your amazing talent of being able to communicate in a way that your audience wants to hear by balancing the pain with the benefit and really pulling it all into this kind of what's the word I want to use? This cohesive kind of marketing piece that really attracts and connects with the
You know, I
audience you want.
I love that word cohesive. So
It was good. It was good. All right, Emily. So we've got a lot of ideas. I know we could talk for like really days on this subject because there's so many nuances to good copy. And copy is the essential foundation to marketing, and marketing, you have to market in order to make sales, in order to make the cash register ring, to put money in your pocket, right? So let's daisy chain this whole thing together. But it all starts with a good conversation and something that will pique the interest and connect
yeah,
to
it
your
is.
audience.
It is. I think if we just reframe it as a conversation, it makes it a lot easier.
I love it. All right. So, where can listeners find out more about you and how they can start to connect and have conversations with their audience?
All right. So, something I've put together, which people really love, is the bio builder. And this will help you on your about page, on your LinkedIn profile, in podcasts, anywhere you need to talk about yourself and make that connection. Right. And
Oh,
you can
I
do it in
like
a
it.
really creative and fun way. It doesn't always have to be like, hello, I'm this, I do this, blah, 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 blah. We can make it fun and exciting and unique to us. So, if you want to get a free copy of the Bio Builder, it's just a free download. It's emilyaborn.com/bio. And I think Marcia is going to have a link in the show notes. But while you're there,
Absolutely.
you may as well just like poke around on my website. You're already listening to a podcast. I have one too, you can check out. So
Yeah,
we
what's the
can
name of your
connect that way.
podcast?
Content with character. So it is about building character into our copy and our content.
Love it. And we can find that on any particular podcasting stream, or is it out everywhere?
It is everywhere you listen to podcasts.
I love it. And you have such a beautiful podcasting voice as well. So it just would make it even enjoyable to listen. More enjoyable to listen to. Okay, great. So it is Emily Aborn backslash bio.
Yes, correct.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
And thank you so much for having me, Marcia. This was really fun and lovely.
Absolutely. I loved it. It was so helpful. It really got me thinking differently. And that's what I love to have on here. This is purely a conversation about growth and profitability on here. But it always starts with that kind of, that plan, right? And to have that plan and get the foundations going really got me thinking about how to improve my conversations in my writing and my and going to go back and listen to myself, right? And put it all together in a way to really connect to the audience because that's how people buy.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you picked up a few more valuable insights that will help your business be more profitable. And I know that this is the starting point. So if you want to make that cash register ring at the end and put money in your pocket, then you got to step back and maybe relook at your foundations and your messaging and the way that you're communicating with your audience. So I encourage you to go check out Emily's bio builder and more of her content, just the way she teaches you how to communicate better and have those conversations. All right, as I mentioned earlier, it might be time for some fresh perspectives, which is kind of what we're talking about today. So that's why I'm offering a free growth and marketing audit. And in just one powerful session, we'll uncover those opportunities that can drive real growth for your business. So if you're ready to make an impact, go visit profitbooster.biz and let's get started. While you're at it, subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. You can always find Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. So we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Emily.
Thank you.